Equality rules.
Okay, I'm ready to go when you are.
Sweet. I'm recording. Well, it's great to be with you this morning. This morning, Emma. Thank you for being present with me. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Philip. How are you? It's nice to see you too.
I'm great, thank you. I've been looking forward to and excited to share this space with you. For my audience, thank you for being present. This is Emma, who is a fantastic, the gifted healer. I would say that you're a specialist when it comes to dietary cleansing and how we can take the initiative to take care of our bodies. But how would you describe yourself?
I'm a GAPS coach. So GAPS is an acronym and it stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And that is the brainchild of Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who I stumbled upon about 15 years ago when I was going through some terrible health challenges with my children. And I've now trained and I teach people about food as medicine. So it is about cleansing, as you so rightly say, but it's also about nourishing. And that's the more important thing, because these days I think there's quite a big push for us to go alkaline. I get alkalized and go, vegetarian and vegan. And for some people that works really well. But for those who have damaged guts, and that's a lot of us, then what we need to look at is nourishing and cleansing at the same time. So yeah, GAPS, it's called GAPS.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Like, I love as well the word in straight away, the sound of the word, rather than cleansing, which is brilliant. It's great to get clean, but it's a bit clinical, isn't it? But the sound of the word nourishing, it sounds soothing. It sounds much more pleasing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's what food is really all about, isn't it? It's about pleasure, sensuality, enjoyment, and there's no better feeling from the point of view of a mother, I can say from experience, than to give your children something they enjoy to eat. I mean, and see them enjoying their food. It's just the most satisfying feeling imaginable. It's more satisfying than feeding yourself, even feeding your children and seeing them eat. And so now now my children are nearly grown up. I'm kind of translating that to all my clients, because I love to see people enjoy their food. And so many people these days have got, issues, and it all starts in the gut. If your gut's damaged, that's 80% of your immune system. And if your gut's damaged, first of all, you'll have IBS or Crohn's or celiacs or, just digestive issues, bloating, gas, whatever. But then as you gradually are starved, basically, because your gut's not working properly, then the rest of your systems start to break down. And that's when we can, start to see other symptoms like fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, multiple sclerosis, these wasting diseases where you just get lethargic and tired, and then other things like heart disease and diabetes even can all be, the symptoms of them can be greatly alleviated when we start to use food as medicine. Not least, of course, mental health as well. Because you see, when you're undernourished, and because they've been encouraging us to go low fat for such a long time, that basically your wiring, your neurological wiring, we're electrical beings, aren't we? And your wiring is made of fats, of myelin. Every single cell is made of fats. Every single cell membrane is made of phospholipids. So if you're deficient in good fats, that means saturated fats, which they've been telling us not to eat for all these decades, then your wiring is going to go haywire. And that's when you start to see depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, etc., etc. I mean, there's lots of reasons for these things happening, of course, but this is just one factor that we can look at to help people heal.
Well, this is certainly something that's affected me along my journey. And so I can really share my experience, and I have been on my channel for quite some time, and how it relates to exactly like what you just said. And the list of ailments which you just presented, they are the most common ailments that people in the population are suffering with in the modern day. And they're very, what we would also call, what's the word? Goodness gracious. It's something which you suffer with every day, which is just subtle.
Chronic. symptoms.
That's it. It's chronic.
Yeah,
It sounds like a good word.
asthma,
If you
all
smoke,
of those.
you see people who smoke weed, they like, oh, you got to blaze the chronic, Dr. Dre might say, and it becomes a hip term. But chronic is something that's like backache. Oh, my neck aches every day, or eczema. My skin is debilitating, and it's something subtle that someone thinks, that's only a bit of eczema. Can you just grow up? I've just had my leg amputated. Well, that's a serious deal as well, equal respect. But eczema and something small, which you have to deal with every day, can be just as much as a real annoyance that it becomes a mental issue, it becomes a depression, it becomes a depletion, it becomes a devaluation because you're having to take care of something which is a drag. It's a drag.
Absolutely, it's a drag, and it's a message from your body. It's a message from your body saying, I've got some toxins in me, I'm trying to get them out, and your skin is your biggest organ of elimination. So that's just a message. So if we can then have a bit of a paradigm shift and say, okay, I'm getting a message from my body, I need to do something about this. I know what you can do, and I can help you do it. And I mean, you can just go and read the book if you want. You don't need my help. You can just go and read the GAPS book, brilliant book, my Bible. But it is a challenge sometimes to change one's eating habits, because we have become addicts to the opiates of the masses, which are wheat and sugar and various other concoctions that the food alchemists make to make our food addictive, basically. And then we're not even going into all of the GMOs or the pesticides or herbicide residues that are on our foods as well. It's quite shocking. It's almost as though our food system has become weaponized. That's a shocking thing to say, but it's how I see it. Yeah. I'm
in 100% congruence with you. Like, as you may be familiar with, like, we used to have a TV show here called Telly Addicts. But and people do get emotionally connected to the TV. Thank goodness for me, I have managed to shed that habit. I mean, there's like, I only watch one show as a soothing balm for me after I've done my astrology, and that's professional wrestling. I like.
I used to watch that when I was little, wrestling.
I love the caricatures, and it helps me. I'm still thinking about psychology when I watch it, but it's just something to get me away from things. But we had the telly addicts, and we're all food addicts, and we love our buzz. And I've noticed how emotionally attached to food we are, and the labels that come off them, and the emotions that come off of it, and the power. Like, I feel it. Like yesterday, last night alone, and I'll get into my journey, but from the beginning in a little bit. But like, last night alone, just because it become to the evening time and I needed to get some food sorted, I didn't really have what I wanted, and I've become quite in a pattern of getting delivery food, and it's frustrating and a waste of money, and it's not even a treat anymore. And so I got the delivery food because I got hot and sweaty, and I just and so I just cured it. I went straight to the point. But let's just show that the emotions can build up and we trigger, and we just cave in, just sometimes because it's easier. And it's an emotional ordeal. And we're getting to the point with regards to my journey in a minute, but I want to ask you about yourself first, please. And so it sounds like you're doing a fantastic service with your GAPS procedure and making it your own on your own YouTube channel, which I shall be linking below for people on my channel to follow up. But I would like to know what was your journey before, 15 years ago, before you were like founding GAPS? What was your line of work, and how did you get to this point in your own spiritual journey or physical quest?
Well, where to start? But yes, do go to the YouTube channel, because there's lots of free resources there. There's lots of quick, easy recipes of sort of chop it up and chuck it in. Just, and
I'm going to go through a probe review, all of that good stuff in a minute. I just want to learn up about. I will. I'm going to fill you in. So listen, when I was a child, I had tummy ache all the time. I'd wake up with tummy ache. And sorry, excuse me. I'm going to butt in one more time, and because I had something on the tip of my tongue when you were talking a minute ago about tummy. And so basically, this is really good, and it applies so well, because the moon rules the tummy and the gut, and Saturn is our furthest boundary, and it rules the skin. So Saturn's the farthest planet that you can see with your naked eye. and the moon's the nearest satellite, sat right before us. It's right there. You can see it most of the time. Not when it's a new moon, but still you can see it when it's full moon. Regardless, the stomach has a little bit of a brain in it, and it's like a mind of its own. It tells us things, and we often ignore it. But it's the moon mind. It's really our own mother's mind, and we are, in a sense, in the belly of the beast, if you will, as being carbon beings, crystalline beings, conscious beings, Saturn being the farthest boundary. We are within ourselves here. And so if we're learning to attune to our own mindfulness, then we can actually take care of our own boundaries, because actually it's about coming into a rapport with our own inner self so that we can become our own parent and take care of our own responsibilities with food and such and things. So I thought I'd mention that because it kind of came through when I was listening to what you were sharing.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll also talk about the cellular membrane, which with the fats in a little bit, because I'm really into that stuff, how we store our memories in these fats, and we store our family lineage and our stories, which can be passed down unconsciously, the habits and the rituals and the routines and the abuse and the trauma and all kinds of things, the value or the devaluation of ourselves, which is carried in the fats and the clogged nature, which is so easy to purge when we follow suit on what you have applied and are sharing. So how did you get to that point? And I'm not going to butt in this time.
That was very interesting, though. Thank you for butting in. Yeah, I was, as a child, had hiccups incessantly and always woke up with a tummy ache. And my mama would say, well, you need to have your breakfast, you'll feel better then. Or you need to go to the toilet, then you'll feel better, you know. And obviously, she did her absolute best, but she didn't know quite where to go or what to do. I won't say the reasons why I think I had tummy ache, which I mean, could maybe vaccine damage. I'm not sure, but who knows?
Well, I'm going to go again here because it is a massive issue. If we were applying it, while we're talking about it, my last partner, she has a son who is on the autistic spectrum, and
1 in 35 children are now on the spectrum. 1 in 35. It's so shocking.
Common. Yeah. It's probably more common than the common cold.
Yeah.
But that's another subject.
GAPS can help with that a lot.
Yeah, and so like this biosphere, this gut of ours, like this is the cure to a lot. It can be a cure to resolving a lot of these things, with regards to how we work with our mind and the autism and the spectrum of our own consciousness. And the young lad wouldn't speak or communicate or even be able to choose his own meals, and we helped him empower him to make his own choices by making Velcro labels and by showing him that he has a choice and by empowering him to that. And
mind you, how old was he? Because I don't know if they need a choice when they're very little. How old was he?
He was 4 to 5, and now he's 6, 7, 8.
Okay, really, that's a bit young for actually giving them choices, I believe. I think we just say, this is what we're having to eat. Here you are. You know, when they're that little, they don't really need a choice.
He needed it because of the situation he was already groomed into, because he was groomed into to be something that was not a good dietary habit. And so he needed to be empowered to more choices at that point. And because he was shitting basically Coke cans. And so we needed to show that he had the opportunity to have more soluble food, if you will, malleable food. So it would be less of a pain for him who crying on the toilet trying to shit a Coke can out, basically. And so obviously you laugh, but it's not funny. Like my partner was in tears over it, and I'm sure he was too. So we had to help him, and so we taught him, and I'm looking at him with my dietary issues thinking, wow, he's as braver than what I am, you know, and I'm trying to face it too, and like I'm having much anguish as well with my partner was trying to help me, and I'm going off for guilty donuts around the corner, you know, guilty pleasures. Anyway, tell me about your journey. Excuse me, carry on.
Yeah, so anyway, I muddled through my...
Yes, yes.
I muddled through having tummy ache and hiccups and everything, but I was fairly grief-stricken as a child for no good reason really, because I had a loving family and I didn't want for anything, and I was in a loving space, but I was just very grief-stricken and looked sad all the time, and everyone would always say, cheer up love, it might never happen to me.
Oh,
So then when I was about 28, I had a massive mental breakdown where I just cried for about 3 or 4 months. I forget it was, and then I had poison came out of my eye and lots of weird things happened. And I basically did an involuntary fast because I couldn't eat, because every time I tried to put food in my mouth, I would start weeping. As I came into consciousness when I woke up in the morning, I would start weeping. I was just totally distraught and sad and didn't know what was going on. I went to the doctor and they said, take these pills. And I said, I don't want to take pills. And anyway, I fasted involuntarily, and actually that helped me a lot. I didn't know at the time. And then I found yoga. I found a yoga center, and I practiced.
That sounds very healthy. Like, yeah. I mean, like, not to bypass the process, like the eye sounds like an omen from hell, but like it sounds very healthy to be able to get rid of all that gunk, and to, as you say, like some people who would have looked at you at the time and you might have felt very unhealthy, but it might have been the most healthiest.
I was very lucky. I was really, absolutely. I was lucky that I just fasted, but it wasn't by choice. It was because I couldn't eat. So it wasn't great. And I was very miserable, and everyone was all worried about me. You know, I felt friendless, loveless, moneyless, penniless, you know, I had everything less, but I was living in my own flat in Fulham. It's like, hello. It was, you know, I was just a bit deranged, and I wasn't well up here. So then I found yoga, Shivananda Yoga, at the Shivananda Yoga Center at Putney. And if you could get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, I rode my bike there, you got free yoga, and you did a little bit of karma yoga. And then I got hooked, and I was just like, yoga 1 course, yoga 1 with meditation, yoga 2 course, yoga 2 with meditation, asana this and asana that, meditation that. And when I met my husband, a couple of years after that, I had a proper yoga practice where I was waking up every morning and meditating for 40 minutes, doing my asanas for an hour, whatever, you know, loving that. And I was an actress at the time, and I was working as a I was playing a doctor in a medical drama called Medics, which we fondly referred to as Dicks. And, I played this character who was trying to become a surgeon in the old boys network, you know, and you know, it was it was shown at 9 o'clock on ITV on a Friday night. So that was, you know, just when everyone was finishing their week's work, you know, 9 o'clock, just before they go to bed, you know, seeding their minds with all of the things that might possibly go wrong with them physically. So I was actually contributing to the mind programming of, you know, just making everyone feel a bit uneasy and horrible. I hated that job. I mean, I was a great job. I was on 50 grand a year, and I was like, you know, regular in a TV show. It's like, woo, Dr. Gail Benson, clip clop with my shoes, with my white coat down the corridors, with my stethoscope around my neck, you know, doing interviews for, you know, the Evening Standard and magazines and stuff. But I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable because I was contributing.
I sometimes will pop into my mother's room to check out what she's watching on the TV, whether it's like a bit of Frost or a bit of Morse or like these different things. And I sometimes go in there, it's a bit of men behaving badly, so it's a bit more jolly. But I know exactly what you mean with regards to the seeding of these things. I used to be an avid watcher of EastEnders, and I remember I used to be, let me just settle down for a cozy, nice, get my blanket. Maybe I'll watch it in bed with my pillow. EastEnders, yeah. But then basically, I'd see it as this nurturing thing. You know, a bit like you said the word nutrition. Was that the word that we, not nutrition, nourishment.
Nourishing.
I always felt like EastEnders was nourishing. But no, basically, I decided to stop one time because I was like dozing off after watching it all my life. So 25 years of EastEnders, I was dozing off one time, and then I woke up. It was just before Duff Duff, which is, for other people who don't know what EastEnders is, it's a cliffhanger, 30 minutes drama horror show that they'd show at 7:30 every day. Right. But basically, in this kind of soap opera at the end. There was just a slap of this woman across she got slapped across the face by her husband, and I was just like, just don't need to see the vibration or feel that as I'm going to sleep. And so I stopped watching it there and then.
Wow, well done.
Thanks. And it was something I would like. Sometimes I'd watched at the end of the week, they'd have all the episodes together. But anyway, we get hooked onto these things because there are emotional dramas that we project onto the TV, and that projects back into our lives. And it's just, we get stuck in it. A bit like the dietary habits, we get stuck in it.
Absolutely.
You felt, even though you were a bit like, you know, idealized by women who would have seen you empowering the role, and also, you know, put on a pedestal by men who would have found you very attractive, no doubt. And so, but you still managed to get. You were noticing that you weren't happy, and so I
was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And then I met then I retrained as a decorative artist, and I was going into people's homes and I was doing fancy decorative artwork, murals and gilding and marbling and wood graining, all with oil-based paints, solvent-based paints. And I was often using metal pigments in my paints. Like I went to the fish and chip shop and did like silver fishes, but I was mixing with this, basically it was aluminium powder mixing into the paints. So of course and then I was cleaning my brushes with brush cleaner and meths, and, you know, I tried to protect myself with a mask sometimes, but basically it got all over my skin. I loved it. It was really great. But I basically got really badly toxic. I got really, really poisonous, and I already had not been that healthy before then. And then when I had my kids, they were poorly. I was poorly when I was pregnant. They were poorly. I still managed to have 2 home births, which I was immensely proud of. Water births.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, I was really proud of myself.
And like, I advocate for that. That would have been quite pioneering of you, but maybe at the time.
That was 17 years ago. My firstborn was. I was getting ready for a big fight to say I want to have a home birth, you know. But the radical midwives in Peckham were really up for it anyway. Sorry, what was that?
No one would guess that it would be 17 years ago, because you were so youthful.
Oh well, thank you so much. Well, this is the fats. I'm telling you, I'm 52 years old. This is the fats, the good fats, the animal fats. I like to advocate for the good food, you know, with my being. You know, I have got a tiny bit of makeup on, but not a lot, you know.
You can say you're beautiful. It's allowed, Emma. You can say it.
What I would like to say is that I've got healthy skin, and your skin is an indicator of your internal well-being. And, you know, so many people are saying, don't eat animal foods, don't eat, and, you know, I could have a big conversation about that. Anyway, I didn't really quite finish my story, which is going on a bit long, but let me just quickly finish. So when my children were born, I wasn't well during pregnancy, and then when they came, they were just endlessly snotty, colds, coughs, ear infections. My second born began to show autistic tendencies. She wouldn't respond to me when I called her, and that was after her MMR vaccination. And she was out of control. She was I didn't enjoy her as a child. I was questioning my parenting abilities. I would look at her and go, who are you? And what are you doing? And why are you behaving like that? And, you know, there's this antagonism between us. And I was really at my wit's end. And, I mean, she had a tumor on her cheek. We had to have that surgically removed. I was thinking, I've been buying organic since 1986 when I left home, and cooking from scratch, trying to do the right things. And yet still I'm ill. My family's ill. What is going on? And I was really at my wit's end. And then I found Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride and began to read up, and then began to apply the GAPS protocol. And suddenly our whole lives just transformed into a totally different game. It was just a whole different ball game. Suddenly we felt grounded rather than anxious and angry and impatient, and the vibe at home, the whole family dynamic changed. We went from sort of angsty, angry, itchy, snotty, annoyed, you know, to relatively peaceful, patient, accommodating. You know, it just changed everything. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's my story. It hasn't been anything truly dramatic physically, because yeah, we've really tried.
That's dramatic enough, though. These symptoms, as you say, chronic. It like is slow and gradual. It's like a totalitarian footstep, isn't it?
Yes.
It's very, and so it just creeps up on you before you're totally immersed in its own drama, and it's not your drama.
Yeah,
and, so
and that's what it was like. It sort of tiptoed up on us, and I was, you know, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was finished. I was 35 years old, and I had no energy. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that was me. I was done, and I was thinking, is this my life? Is this how I'm going to live my life now? Where I'm just knackered at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, looking for some sugar to try and lift me up again. So it was like we were on a roller coaster of pasta pesto and just eating a lot of carbs. And we were like just like highs and then lows and then highs and then lows. Whereas now we're on a nice kind of even keel, which involves a lot of animal products and a lot of fermented dairy with a lot of fruits and vegetables, mostly organic, if you can manage it. That's the basics, but no grains. That's the GAPS protocol, basically. No grains.
Right, so you could help me a lot, and so I'm going to tell you a bit about my journey.
Yes, please.
And then,
do you mind if I eat my breakfast while you're telling me?
Yeah, go for it. And so, basically, I didn't ever really have a diet which was good for me. When I was really very young, like probably a toddler, like maybe one or two, three, maybe, I would have eaten bananas and things that were more healthy. But then I shied away, and I was considered fussy eater, and I would be wanting to not eat burgers or anything like that. No vegetables, no nothing like meat. I'd have what I would have is a fish cake or turkey dinosaurs and chips. And this was what I would live off for till I was about 15 or 16.
Oh, my darling child. Yeah, I need to help you.
And then I would end up still eating them until maybe it was about 20, but I'd end up burning them because I knew I wasn't happy with them. But so what I would do before that is I'd hide food around the house that I didn't want to eat when I was much younger, when I was about 5. And it would be my way of being able to bypass it and control what I was eating. And
so that was a kind of anorexia in a way. You'd be given food, but you would put it away somewhere and not eat it, choose not to eat it, right? Yeah.
Yes. And also, it was like, I didn't like the drama when we would go to the bigger family, like grandparents, like at the family meal. I'd always feel better after the family meal was done and we were just like more social, you know, because the family meal was a big intensity where it just wasn't a pleasure to be eating, you know, because I was embarrassed, firstly, that a lot of embarrassment that I wasn't eating the right stuff, and a lot of not wanting to be next to people who were eating stuff which was alien to me. And so, but the thing is, time would go on, and so I eventually become an adolescent and whatever have you, and I still was more stubborn and, in a sense, wretched with it. But it got to the point where I'd be seeing other people eat things, and I'd gone through the dramas of not being able to go to, even when I was really young. I had girlfriends really young, like when I was like 6 or something, and I didn't go to her McDonald's party because she had, and yet loads of other people went, yeah, but her boyfriend didn't go at 6 years old because I was scared to eat the food. Oh. That was a major big deal.
You don't want to be eating that food anyway. That's not really food. It's a food-like product. It's not really food.
Oh yeah, yes, absolute filth. Point is, that for me, that was a massive holdback for me, and that emotion.
Yeah, to not actually be with your friends. Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah.
And so anyway, I decided that when I was in my 20s, after I was like taking more like drugs and things, like doing some ecstasy and things like this out with my friends, and thinking, okay, well, if I'm doing this filth, may as well do some healthy food. It's like, so they're eating it right there. I'm really hungry. Why don't I try a bit? And so I would challenge them to challenge me. But when I do it, I kind of flip out and I make it a drama, kind of make it a bit of a bravado. For instance, I'll do an example. Here's me trying something that would be, for instance, a bit of pizza with some barbecue chicken on it or something like that. Okay, and so I like try a bit, and I'm going to try the pizza crust, just a bit of pizza crust, hardly any chicken on it. I'll be like, and I just swallow it. I make a bit of a big deal out of it, but I like the barbecue flavour, and I feel like a bit more grown up, and I feel like, and so for instance, that happened with things like curry and a cheese naan with a bit of like vindaloo sauce, and I'll be like, love it. That's what I had last night, actually, but just vindaloo sauce and a cheese naan and some rice. So because that initially to me was like, whoa, pushing the boat out, you know. Anyway, so the point is, to long story short, is that I was even like when I was 11 years old, I could have had the brand new game console, you know, when I was on holiday. If I'd eaten, well, my dad said if I'd eaten every healthy food, which would have been basically Burger King, just moving towards the direction of something where I was more, you know, than just chips, then I would have been able to get, if I did it for a week, I could have got the new games console, which I really wanted, but I couldn't even bring myself to do it because emotionally I was in knots. And so basically, even forcing myself a friend, that would help me a bit. And then starting a YouTube channel in 2011, and then in 2012, started documenting my progress with food. And I made myself get like a fruit salad. And I've probably only done this less than 10 times in my life, still, 33. So this is like back in 2012, I filmed myself eating a fruit salad. And same thing with that, but like I would enjoy it more because it was nice. Even now, I think it could be nice. I would like, I like a bit of watermelon, but the last time I had it was months ago. And so it's like still stuck in habits. And because I've not got any friends around me anymore, and because of my social life was non-existent because of my line of work, I've taken myself on my own journey, and nobody that I was hanging out with who would help me along my journey at first, with the pizza crust, for instance, were interested in astrology or spirituality. And so
it's a lonely journey sometimes. That I know what you're saying. It's lonely. Yeah.
And so this is the story. You can hear the emotion coming there again. So basically, I took myself on my own way, and then the stress came in. And I had this transatlantic relationship with the lady who had the son, and she had a daughter, and that she was pregnant with when I met her in 2015, and she was not only pregnant but married. And but he was a gay man who had left her with the children, and so there was a mess, and there was a lot of love that needed, and over there, and that she was in California and I was in England. So basically, the stress of that, and also not having anyone around for me, and I was commuting, trying to earn a living so I could get a visa and save up to go to America, all these types of things. Basically, for a while I'd been quite sweaty as well. Like I just sweat. Like my thermostat had gone. Like I'd walk and I'd just be soaked, and I'd get, for instance, a job centre at the time. I was going to the job centre because I was like, I'm not doing a job I don't enjoy. I was adamant that I was going to find something and eventually become an astrologer. I was studying the whole time. I didn't realise I was going that way. Didn't realise. Anyway, so I was sweaty. I was like soaked when I get to these places. It's just not right. That basically stopped after I started scratching. I always had eczema, a label that was given to me from early on, and like eczema and asthma for as long as I can remember, from the age of 3 or whatever. And so when it's great for the mask wearing, but that's about it. I mean, sometimes I get a bit tight chested, but that's because I still smoke weed, and so it can get quite tight from that. I don't think it's actually need this, to be honest. Anyway,
so what's your diet like now then?
Yeah, we'll get there. So basically, in America, I finally got there, and before I got there, I was put on this medication in 2015, which you'd only be on it for like a week or so. They put me on a very high dose, much more than I'm on now. 4 years later, been on this, and so I was put on it because I couldn't get my clothes on in the morning and get out of the house without burning up and being in fits of itching and being constantly itching. And actually, also in the night, time, I wouldn't get any sleep, and I'd be plucking my hairs, my pubic hairs, because it was a night demon terror. Basically, that sounds a bit intense, sounds like crazy, man. I've done a lot of research, obviously, and spent a lot of time with it, and I interviewed other people who had the same similar situations, and it was about gut biome, their answers. My colleague Santos Bonacci had the same thing, and he ended up taking horse wormer and dog wormer to help it, and that was the only thing that would work. But anyway, we'll get maybe that's just the answer and solution that other people found, and it works for him. He's fine now, and he had it for years from scratching now. Anyway, some of it's habitual, and some of it's because it still itches, and some of it's because I'm still healing. I haven't actually got over it. So this plaster, which didn't do anything except for take away the initial terrible anxiety of what it was, because what it is also is in my natal chart, we'll share yours in a minute, is that actually I've got Mercury-Uranus conjunction. Uranus is the sky god, it's the lymph system, it's the pineal gland, it's the whole, I just got a tickle, so sensitive. You know, if we was doing a massage or Kundalini yoga or anything like this, I'd be so sensitive, because I've got a very sensitive skin. It's eczema, like I could just feel like a leaf go on one skin molecule or something, are just like so sensitive, right? So it's great. It's sometimes if you were doing like some kind of tantric yogic thing, but if you're also sitting there in the park and you don't want a bug landing on you, you're trying to meditate, it's awful. It's like very sensitive stuff. Anyway, so they put me on these things, and I was like wanted to get off them ever since, and it's very hard work. And I'm coming off prodisolone, and it was meant to help the immune system.
Is that steroid?
Yes. Yeah. It's meant to help the immune system. And to come off it, some people's like, come off it now. It's like, well, I've been trying to come off it. I don't like talking about it because everyone's got an opinion, and everyone comments, oh, do this, do that. And that is just like, I ain't got any time anymore. But no matter how much love it's coming from, I just haven't got any time for it. I've done my own research. I've been through the ringer with it, literally. Anyway, so I wouldn't advise pharmaceutical for this option for anyone. What they told me to do, the doctors, when I go there, is firstly, they tell me to get off it. Secondly, they said to me that you should go on to a blood transfusion.
Right, don't do that, babe.
and I was like, fuck no. I mean, I may look like a fucking idiot, excuse me, because I've gone on this, but I'm not an absolute mug. Excuse me, if you've ever had to go to a blood fountain, I don't think you're a mug if you had to do that, but it's fear-based bullshit, which I'm not going into no more. It's bad enough that I have to go back compliantly, because if I was just to stop this abruptly...
Yes, then very dangerous, yeah. You must...
I'm going to show you now.
Wean yourself. You need to wean, yeah.
This...
Oh, darling. Yeah. Is that a sore from scratching?
This peels every day.
Darling, yeah.
And I messaged your friend Lee, and I asked him about it with regards to healthy eating, and he was saying, yes, you need to cleanse. And I watched your video with Charlie, and I was like, wow, I've been on the path for a long time, and I knew that you were talking sense. Basically, I'll tell you the end of the story real quick, for me, up to date. And so basically, I went over to my friend. She was really good with health anyway, and vegan basically most of the time. And so she helped me, and I was very stubborn, and I was kind of looked a gift horse in the mouth a bit. I helped her in ways as well, and then we had our own dramas. And also working with a visa and a transatlantic relationship is very stressful, and it was heartbreaking that we couldn't continue our relationship because of visas and stuff like that. And we're still in contact, so that's still nice. Is what it is, though. And so with regards to me having to move on and take accountability and responsibility for myself, because no one else does it for you, and this has been a very powerful lesson. It's been a long lesson for many years. It's a lifelong lesson, isn't it? And so I'm learning, and my diet now is I'm living off curry, and sometimes I'll go and I'll have a coffee and a croissant, or coffee and a bit of cake, or some chips at the pub. I know I should be eating healthier. I know I should be doing daily yoga. What I'm looking for is kind of people around me doing it so that I can join in. Because when I've got people doing it around me, it sounds such a cop-out. Can't you just do it for yourself? Can't you just love yourself enough? Yes, I can. But I'm kind of like just busting my gut trying to keep doing what I'm doing as an astrologer so that I can earn enough money to do things. And so I would like to move into a community or at least a space where there's people doing things around me and that I can help my diet. And people try and help. I've got a juicer, and sometimes I have celery juices and things. I love it. A bit of ginger, all of this kind of stuff. I love it, but it's so alien. Okay. So the point is the fear, which is the false evidence appearing real, is like when I would put it into my mouth, it'd be so alien. I even got hypnotized for it in 2014, which may have unlocked a little bit of it. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure it would be beneficial, and I'm open to learning more. Anyway, I've spoken for ages about it now, and so point is, I know that I'm coming off it. Instead, they put me on 8 milligram.
Oh my God, that's monster.
Initially, yeah, I've come down to not 8 milligram, 80. I don't know what it is. It's really hard to tell. The language is just not.
Anyway, 80 something, and you've come down to what then?
I'm on 6.
Well done. Well done. You've made a move, you know. Do you know what?
I'm coming down with the moon every month.
Okay.
Coming down a little bit
slowly. But listen, you need to get nourished so that your body can fix itself, because at the moment you're broken. We're all broken to a degree, but you're broken, you know. And what's going to help is a topical. You can actually feed your skin topically with tallow. So beef fat, you can go to a supermarket and buy a jar of tallow, of beef fat, and you can melt it in a pan and put a little bit of olive oil in it and a little bit of lavender oil, and that is your very own skin balm that's going to actually feed your skin and soothe it, because the lavender in it is kind of cooling. You can put lavender on open wounds. You can put lavender oil on a burn. If I've burnt my hand when I'm cooking, I've put lavender oil, it's essential oil, straight on it. So when it's diluted, that lavender oil in the tallow and the olive oil, it's not going to hurt you at all. It's going to soothe you and make you feel better. So you can feed your skin that way. You see, that's not something you'll be taking in here, so you're not going to have any problems about sensory. And what's happening with your body?
I use this in the moment. Like, so this is not. I wouldn't really go and recommend it. It's just the nearest and the only option that's available without.
What is it?
It's just what you get in a local shop.
Aveeno, is it?
Yeah,
Aveeno.
I think it's got some.
It's oats. So another thing you can do then is you can get jumbo rolled oats, which is what's in that cream there, and you can put it in a little sack and then run yourself a bath, and then you put the bath of porridge in. You put the bag of oats in the bath, and then also it'd be really great for you to get some magnesium salts.
Well, again, this is great, and yes, I shouldn't talk over because there's other people who want to learn from the medicine. So magnesium salts, but I haven't had a bath since 2017. We haven't got a bath.
It's going to make you. Oh, you haven't got a bath. Okay, that's a shame.
I would love one.
You could use a foot bath, because what's the thing about magnesium? So you want magnesium hexahydrate.
I actually, funny that you say this. I went and walked. I got some flip flops recently for the first time again. And I'd never worn them except for once in California. But basically, I got some because it's been so gosh damn hot, isn't it? And so I went and I put my feet in the ocean yesterday. Not Bognor, but Pagham, which is near. And so where I live, and it was so nice.
That's an excellent thing for you to do.
It's great because it's actually, as you say, magnesium and the salts that's in the ocean, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're getting grounded at the same time. So you're detoxing and getting mineralized and getting grounded at the same time. That's why going to the seaside is just so good for us. And also sunshine on your skin, hugely important and part of the GAPS protocol. Sunbathing is actually compulsory as part of the protocol. The minute the sun comes out, you get out in it and get your skin in the sun. Really, really important. Never put any sun cream on. Just have 10 minutes on each side or 20 minutes on each side, you know.
I like that, but keep it. Never put any sun cream on.
Never.
By the way, the feet are Pisces, and so they are also, which represents the soul, and it's also that the the tinkering around the reel of the movie. If you're basically at the back of a cinema and you're going to change a bit of the movie, you've got to change the reel. It's a bit like, okay, I've got to clean the slides, got to clean the residue, got to clean my belief systems. So basically, you clean your feet, you're cleaning all of the different slides, you're cleaning all of the Akashic record kind of thing. It's like a cerebral scrub of the feet.
I order from Intra Labs. I mean, there's lots of places you can get it, but if you go to the chemist and buy salts, it's a fortune. But if you go to a chemical laboratory supplier, you can get 25 kilogram bag, and it's really worth it, because you want to have a good couple of mugs in a foot bath of Dead Sea salts, or magnesium chloride as it's known. So that's 47% magnesium, and then 53% all the other minerals under the sun. So it's gonna, you will be horrendously demineralized on the diet you've been telling me you've been eating. And
I know the path for me, and you are the solution person. You've got all the answers, every single one of them that I need.
I don't know about that, but I can certainly help. I
feel like basically all the ones that I'm keeping myself arm's distance from, because I'm just going through this continuous, monotonous pattern of getting up, going to town, getting a coffee, coming home, making a video about astrology, and then getting a curry, and then going back to bed and doing it again, and repeat and repeat and repeat. And so my mum will sometimes make me a roast dinner on a Sunday. Well, I'll have roast potatoes and a Yorkshire pudding, because I don't have any vegetables with it. But I used to have like carrots sometimes. Okay. I make it on my own. I did veer out, and I got to a really good cafe, a vegan cafe, where I was doing astrology readings for them every month, for them and their family. And they give me a meal every day, 5 days a week.
That's
where I'd have
nice.
wheat, red cabbage, big potatoes, all of these healthier foods. Yeah, I was moving. So I do like to do it, and chickpeas and all these things. I do like to do it, and it is yummy.
For you, veganism is not something that will heal you. Veganism is great, but veganism, have the vegan stuff, but then also you need some chicken stock and loads of veg, and all the veg be cooked in the chicken stock, and then whoosh it up with a whoosher, so it's just like a curry sauce, and then flavor it with curry, and then put chicken in it. Have a chicken curry, but have your chicken curry, not the chicken curry from the shop, so that you can it'll taste like chicken curry. You'll be
I've never ever had chicken in my life. That scares me.
You've never had chicken?
I've never, part of my food phobia is that I'm really going to explain to you. No meat, no vegetables, carbs only. All right? Now you get the idea.
Yeah, okay. So look, what we can do is, are you in the house? Are you in a house with anyone else? Is there anyone else around?
My mum's here, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, she could cook up a chicken stock pot, and she could eat the chicken, but you could have the stock. No, she won't. Okay, it's up to you.
We're doing our own thing. And so, because we've already been through a lot of things, I'm going to be moving on to another space any minute now, in the conversation and in life. And so I'm looking about moving out into a new space. And so, like, preferably with someone who's got a similar attitude as yourself. And so that anyway, I know the answers. I want to move the conversation on, and so because I've already got so much longer.
It's very challenging. I see where you're at. I see you.
And so I'm on the precipice, as you can see. I can't be pushed anymore, otherwise I'm going to have my body fail on me, and I haven't got enough time for it.
That's right. And you've got really important work to do, because you're telling people about this.
Well, financially it's been a bust, because I haven't had the support emotionally or financially for me to move into the right direction. I owe someone money for borrowing. One of my dear friends lent me money so I could get a juicer, and I don't even use it because I feel like I'm not supporting myself in habits. To go to a greengrocer's and get healthy food that I believe in is an issue. It's like an issue to even get sorted, and it's very emotional, as you can hear. But anyway, I want to read your chart.
You're very brave to even talk about it. Actually, it's really, really brave of you to actually speak about it in public, as it were. I'm really impressed. It's really brave.
Thank you. If people want to give me solutions, sometimes when I do these videos, people will comment and say, I've got these helps, I've got this things. Fantastic. Thank you very much. The greatest way to help would be an invitation to your cleansing spa. I've seen that got these things where you can actually go and get an enema every day and get the new bioactives put in your yogurts and whatever. I want to be basically, ideally, I would like to go to one of these things and document my journey to show how good the service is, how good this truth is, to show how it's easy to be done. I'm basically, my body's a bomb site. And so there's no better proof in the pudding. If someone wants to help me along my journey, I'll provide you with all the best astrology in the world for a lifetime. If anybody watching this wants to give me a permission slip, I'll travel out of the UK with pleasure. Right here, right now, if anybody wants to give me the opportunity to come and cleanse my body, I'll be very grateful. And I will try the new foods, and I'll document it all. Anyway, thank you very much. Let me read your chart for you. I know that you've got a great YouTube channel and all of the solutions. Because I saw your interview with Charlie, and you're great doing the cookery on your channel, and you're great uplifting spirits, and you've got all of this great energy. So I would like to just share how you are in your chart, if that's all right.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Cool. Have you had an astrology reading before? Because you said that I actually know that
Julian
you, funnily enough, synchronistically, I discovered you through Charlie Ward, who then I was great enough to have the opportunity to talk to and share astrology with myself. But then when I saw you interview with him, I searched you, and you're friends with one of my astrology colleagues who I've learned a lot through and with. And I've even done webinars with and taught astrology with online in groups before. And so it's quite funny. And also he's done videos of me on my YouTube channel where you are now. So this
Julian Venables, the London astrologer, isn't he? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So this is funny. And so I'm not like Julian I'm quite a lot different type of astrologer, but we do talk and we share ideas. So it's fun. So here's your chart. I'm sharing it on the screen here. And it's 8:30, you're born on the 2nd of April, 1968, correct?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a big square, isn't it? It's a big square looking thing.
Yeah, so you were saying you've been studying astrology and you're learning it now. When was your first reading and when did you first discover it?
I took my daughter Billy, who I had trouble with, to an osteopath one time, and he said to me, "Have you had her chart done?" And I went, "No." And he said, "Well, maybe you should. It might explain a few things." She's Cancerian cardinal, and I'm Aries, spring equinox kind of cardinal, and we clash a little bit, but she's my biggest teacher. But when it was her 13th birthday, I took her to Julian as a present, and I did our chart together to see how we were together. It was very interesting. Yeah, and it blew me away. The things he told me about my journey, it was just like, oh my God, how do you know this? How do you know that? It was very surprising and eye-opening, actually.
I find that for a parent-child dynamic, the relationship charts or the different techniques that can be applied is so beneficial and healing. They're the best, actually. This is what astrology's best for within the family dynamic and as a therapeutic tool. I mean, you can use it for business very well as well, which is best emotionally key, but it's like they're both just fantastic tools. So it's so cool that you're learning it and you know a lot of the antithesis, you know a lot of the words, keywords, and so yeah, all power to you. Thank you for being an advocate of astrology. That's cool.
Hugely important, I think it is. Yeah, the first great science, definitely.
Yeah. So this is your chart as a Gemini rising at 3 degrees. And with the moon conjunct, this is where the moon is today. We've got the moon in Gemini right today.
Can you put your cursor on the things that you're talking about? Is that possible?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So you would say the moon, yes.
At 9 o'clock on the clock sphere, if you will, here we have the ascendant, which was rising at the time of your birth. And because there's 24 hours in the day, there's 12 signs. It takes 2 hours for this to change the ascendant. It changes every 2 hours fairly rapidly. And whereas the moon takes 2.5 days to travel through a sign, and the sun will take 30 days to travel through a sign. It takes Saturn 28 years to go through the whole cycle, whereas it takes the moon 28 days. There's just some astrology stats. So the Gemini rising, it was coming over the eastern horizon at your birth, and this means that you have Sagittarius as your descendant. And you actually got your chart ruler as Mercury, which is at 22 degrees of Pisces. in a conjunction with Venus in Pisces as well. Ooh la la. Well, that's like, obviously, Venus is the goddess of beauty and all things nice, sugars, and those bits and spices as well, herbs and spices. But Venus is exalted in Pisces. It's his favourite sign to be. And so it's really allowing you to bring the most valuable qualities to the show, if you will. And it's the 10th house, as I say, next to your chart ruler Mercury, which is really intuitively guided in Pisces to all the different types of information, but in a way structuring this information. Most people could be right, palaver. How can one structure such a wide array, challenge for me to say, a wide array of information? How can you be a master of it? Well, it's actually a challenge, and it's always going to be a juggling act, especially when you've got Saturn in Aries, which is its kind of more challenging sign. It's like, but really what you're doing is you as a Gemini rising, your Venus is ruling Taurus, which is your 12th house, which is very Piscean, and the 5th house, where you've got Libra and your South Node. So really you're such a highly evolved being, basically, is what I'm seeing, that your exalted Venus is bringing your 5th house and your 12th house into extra high octave vibration, if you will. And it's just got your South Node in Libra. So do I. It's like you've got an abundance of previous experiences where you have witnessed things. You've witnessed things. You've got a good observational point of view on things, an architect's eye, if you will. And as you have this visionary quality, very much visionary in the 12th house, that is that, again, that back of the movie theatre, changing the reel of the movie kind of stuff. And you've got Mars as well in Taurus and the Black Moon Lilith. And so you're able to see the quality of things and act on it. That you are an actress or an actor. I don't get me wrong.
We all are, aren't we, on the stage of life or whatever? But yeah, that was my first choice, to be a storyteller and an actor. But I was always miserable, because now I see, especially since lockdown, I see with all this information coming forward that basically the entertainment industry is just a big perception management, well-funded perception management campaign. And that actually so few really good stories are told. Most of the stories that are told are just to keep us in confusion and fear. So I'm glad I was sensitive enough to actually go, I'm really miserable in this business. Let me get out of it. That's not to say that there aren't some amazing actors out there who are really good storytellers, who will now be able to, now that Hollywood, pedo-wood, is going to be dismantled and disintegrated, that it can be reborn as a storytelling place which can actually empower people to the wonder and greatness of human intention, human potential, which is this is what this war on consciousness is all about, really, isn't it?
So you can see it. You're a seer. You're a knower, and you know this stuff. And it takes one to know one. And I love what you see that. And I see that Hollywood can be used as, like, other cinemas can be used as deprogramming and healing places where we actually get to undo a lot of the hard work that's been put, a lot of the contamination that's been going on in our consciousness. So actors, they're just ferried about, they're just acting a role, and you weren't going to be ferried about. You're like, this isn't for me. I feel like I'm not happy. I'm not acting this role. This is not, I'm going to act out, in a sense. I'm going to rebel against it. And so this is very cool. You were the rebel. Mars is like saying, I'm going to act in my own way, because it's unaspected here. And Mars is the ruler of Aries, where you've got your Chiron, you've got your Sun, you've got your Saturn, you've got your North Node. So you're always going to be coming into your own authority, like a rebel without a cause. But gosh, that would be the label they give you, because actually your cause is so predominantly powerful, they wouldn't want anyone to know. You've got your midheaven in the rebellious sign of Aquarius. And it's a very powerful place for you to have that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the sun's exalted as well. So you've got Venus exalted, its favourite place to be. The sun's exalted, its favourite place to be. The sun loves it in Aries, because the sun's born again every time it goes through Capricorn at Christmas time, when I'm born. And then it dies at the Cancer, where we just had it a few weeks ago. So you've got it right in the middle, 90 degrees in between, where it's the great I am, the ram, the lamb of God, Aries. And it's right next to Saturn, so it's helping you try and structure your creative endeavors within networks and within society. And as you have your Chiron there, it's not always easy to assert that I am. It's like, how do you put the first leg forward? And yet you find that there's always, you just have to eventually, even if it doesn't feel comfortable putting oneself out there. You eventually, by learning that you are here to do that, we're here to be a leader, it's actually advocating and finding that you help other people. And when you realize that you are helping other people, when you help yourself, it becomes a lot easier to help yourself. Do you resonate with what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, Saturn also rules your 8th house, where you got Capricorn, and your 9th house. So this is very powerful for your collaborations, in networks and spheres of influence, and also your belief system as a leader, as a pioneer, as a teacher, as a radical.
I didn't mean to be, but yeah, I feel like I am a bit of a radical. When you see how censored the information that Dr. Natasha has been putting out there for the last 25 years has been, and how difficult it is to get the message across that food is medicine, because, you know, Big Pharma doesn't want us to know that the food is the medicine. And as I was saying earlier, the weaponization of our food systems has been holding us back so badly. But I really feel hopeful now that actually, you know, since lockdown, people's eyes are opening and information's getting out there despite the censorship. The chronic terror, the censorship's getting really bad. I mean, yeah.
I'm going to share how these transits are affecting you and how you are empowered through them in a moment. Just before I get there, though, which is very exciting to share that, and that your chart ruler Mercury, right next to the Venus, is opposite Pluto and Uranus, which are more slow-moving, transpersonal planets. They are the planets that are beyond Saturn's realm, they're beyond time. They're more about our generations. So you've got this generational thing where maybe you were, I often find with my clients who say that you were killed in other experiences or snuffed out for sharing your natural gifts, in a sense, pagan gifts, the gifts of the land, the harvest, nurturing gifts of Earth, because it's in Virgo, right? You've got Pluto and Uranus in Virgo. And so a lot of people born in this era have been like killed for sharing their natural kind of gifts. Whether they're
I have actually seen a lady who told me about some past lives where she said exactly that.
So you often went, go on.
Funnily enough, Julian, before he even met me, he gave me a little mini chart reading, a little social do that I went to, and that's when I decided to go and see him and pay him to do me and Billy. He said, when he didn't know me, and he looked at my chart and he said, "You're working with the earth, you're a grower, or you're growing, but you're bucking the trend, and you're sticking your neck out and things like that." And I didn't tell you about this, but I bought land in 2011. Me and my husband bought land because we realized we needed to grow the food ourselves so that we could circumnavigate the toxicity that's in the food system. And we crowdfunded and barn raised a love shack and moved into it. And we're there for 3 full years. And then in the end, going through the system, which we went into with our eyes open, we ended up in the High Court, taking our local council to the High Court, which it finished with us having to take the house down and move off the land. So it's like we got snuffed out. We got snuffed out and killed, you know. But now the project is called The Crossing Forest Row, and it is now a community smallholding run by a collective. It's a community interest company. So it's gone on. It's still doing things, and now I've stepped away and I'm focusing on the food as medicine, which is fine, and it's all good. It's just one of life's rich, you know, lessons.
You just read the antithesis of your chart. So basically, pioneering, rebel with a direction, a leadership cause is what you were doing, and like you were snuffed out, like in other, you know, some people, astrologers will say other lives, but it happens in this life. Everything that has in this chart is the best days of the life, the worst days of the life. It's both, and so you having to move off the land after 3 years of cultivating this home and this farming fertility, and then maybe you start to have your children there and all these types of things, but then having to take down the house. But the thing is, as you say, they carried on. And Aries doesn't need to finish things. You just kickstart them, and then you can move on, and then other people can finish it for you, right?
Nice. Yeah,
and so you do, and the thing is, you've still got the enjoyment because you've still gone on and you've got your family, you've got the knowledge, you've still gone on to do something else you enjoy. You probably wouldn't have enjoyed staying there for the rest of your days anyway. So, like, it's cool. So that's all good stuff. Basically, especially I love the old South Node in Libra. It's all very good because of me. I enjoy that. Like, you've got those exalted Venus sextile the Lilith as well, so you know how people, the repressed situations in the world, like, you speak on them very clearly, you know how to speak out of them, and you know, and I think that's very powerful because you've seen it firsthand where people have been repressed and bullied and scared to speak out about these types of things. For instance, I was about thinking of maybe I'll do Dil Dando's chart on one of my astrology readings, but then I thought maybe I shouldn't talk about that. I still haven't done it yet, and I will.
I remember I remember her being shocked because I was living in Fulham. It was around the corner from where I lived at the time. And now, knowing what it was all about, that she was attempting to shine light on the paedophile rings within our communication systems. Yeah, everywhere, in all our institutions, yeah.
I noticed it. So I don't know if you noticed, I did a video about it the other day. I noticed it just walking around in my local town. Doesn't matter which one you go to. It's everywhere. And so it's, anyway, moving on.
Let's shine the light on it. Shine the light on it.
Yes, it's very much to bring awareness and to have the conversations. For instance, I was just mentioning this. I have someone I went to college with my age, and we just kind of talked about it. I don't want to talk about it every day. It'd be nice to have a day, don't talk about it. But like, and then some older people walked past us in the masonry estate, and I was like, okay, well, time to start talking a bit more loud. I'm not going to start talking more quietly. Yeah, I know it. And you might be smiling and laughing now. You hear me talking about it, but I'm going to talk more loudly now. Thank you very much. You smile and laugh, thinking it's funny. That's the way I've got my opinion on it. Anyway, so Saturn in the actual sky. This is your chart. Moving on now. We didn't mention Jupiter, by the way. It could be rude not to mention Jupiter because it hasn't been mentioned. So Jupiter's squaring your Lilith and your Neptune, and Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius. Jupiter is in Leo, and so this is a really big situation for regards to how you communicate in the world. You're able to have a good extrasensory perception with regards how to gauge what people you're communicating with, how you feel they see you. You know, what philosophy and belief system and what tact to use, because you're rooted in a very creative repertoire. You've got a good way of building a bridge of communication to connect to different people with regards to your type of dialogue you use. There you go. It's a nice compliment. What do you feel about that?
Thank you very much. I hope it's true. Yeah, well, it must be true. It's in my chart.
Yeah, I'm sure it's got its like its hazards as well, but like, you know, I'm just giving you a quick way. It might have been challenging. You might have had to find this gift because it's you feel stifled in the world, and you had to learn other languages. You had to watch people. You had to be able to learn about the different things in the world so that you could then be master of it. And there's always more challenges, right?
Right.
So let me just get to these transits. So basically, Saturn made its ingress into Aquarius on the lockdown. They locked us down on Saturn's ingress into Aquarius, which was the same day that the Sun made its, 2 days after, or before, I can't remember if it was before or after, the Sun made its ingress into Aries. So it's very serendipitous, especially as you've got your Chiron at 0 Aries, and you've got your midheaven at 0 Aquarius. And so this, in a sense, was giving you a new lease of life in the world because they sextile each other. And so you could say that the lockdown was great for you.
I have to say, I felt my grief completely dissipated. I lost all sadness. I was just like, woohoo! Well, my daughter came home from school and said, we're in something called lockdown, Mummy. I was like, what are they teaching you? What are they telling you at school? Lockdown? What the fuck are they doing now? You know, and then when I remember emailing the school and saying, what do you mean you've closed the school? Don't be so silly, you know, open it up again at once. And then I saw it all unfold. I was like, oh, okay. And I have to say my grief completely disappeared. Then I was like, wow, it's happening. Whatever it is, the event is happening now. It's something in my circles, we've been talking about something happening for years now. And it's like, my God, it's here. This is great. Okay, let's see what happens next. I feel great.
Excellent. Yeah. I was a bit, at first, when it happened, I was a bit like, oh, we're taking away the cafes. That's annoying. I didn't get a bus ticket for a couple of weeks. I had to go and get a coffee from the petrol station and sit in the bus stop and drink it. And that was, and I felt very, you know, isolated because I wasn't going to the cafes. And then I thought, sod it, I'm going to go back to the isolated town before they permit us permission. I'm going to walk around it. I'll find somewhere to get a coffee. And I did. And there was one place, Winky Dink place, that was open. And I made friends with some other daring characters who were going out.
Nice. And then
slowly people were coming back. But let's talk it short. So Saturn rules Aquarius and your 8th house. So it's helping you get collaborations with people across the smorgasbord in different communities in the world on a philosophical basis. Obviously, you're doing videos with different people on YouTube who have got things in common with you, so you can share them on this international level. And it's only going to be continued to be restructured. Saturn's gone back into Capricorn now since the lockdown, and it will be there until the winter solstice, and it will return with Jupiter to 0 degrees of Aquarius on that winter solstice, which is the Great Conjunction. This happens every 20 years. The last time it happened would have been in Taurus, which would have been your 12th house. So you might have felt that you were working behind the scenes the past 20 years with regards to this types of thing.
That was 20 years. That's interesting. That's when I met my husband 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Sorry. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
So you brought life into the world and a parent's role is kind of behind the scenes, isn't it? In some ways, because you're working as a puppeteer, you're working as a homemaker, you're working as an orchestrator, an artist. But then you're like, hey, now I've got they're grown up to the degree that maybe I can come back in and play my role on a more public stage or whatever have you.
Yeah.
And so this Great Conjunction is happening in air, first time in 800 years, and it's giving you the opportunity to really work with different belief systems, different ideologies, and I just started struggling to get my tongue around that one. Saturn being the ruler of Aquarius and your 8th, which is your 9th house, your 8th house, you could be teaching people the ethos in collaborative affairs of leadership. You can teach the leaders of this world what they need to know and hear about. And because Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius, it's again structuring ideals and perspectives that you're able to share. And because you've got your Venus there in the Pisces, you're the messenger of the quality that is irrefutable. These Neptune and Mercury just trine, the exalted Venus and Mercury just trine the modern day ruler of Pisces, Neptune, which is in your 6th house of health, conscious health, crystal clear conscious health, medicine that you are the messenger of in your day-to-day life.
Wow.
Yeah, very powerful mover and shaker you are. So people should sign you up today to come onto their podcast, to come and share your wisdom and all these types of things. And I'm sure you're going to be continuing to be the shamanic healer and the advocate for change. Chiron, you just had your Chiron return a couple of years ago as well. Chiron's just moved up to about 10 degrees. It's moving towards your sun. So it's like a challenge with your creativity in the next few years. Like, okay, I'm really out there now. I'm really pushing myself out there. And it's about my voice being heard. And it's like saying, hey, I'm speaking the truth here. And as a healer, as a shamanic healer.
I don't know if I am shamanic exactly, although my mother did give me the name of my godmother, which is Emma Sharman Goodwin. Cunningham. Yeah, so my middle name is Sharman.
Yes,
which I don't think has got anything to do with being a shaman or whatever, because I'm not. But anyway,
it's about facing our own wounding with Chiron. It takes 52 years to go around the whole sky. So when you had your Chiron return, it's a bit like you've been indoctrinated by facing your own stuff, and now you can help other people with it too.
Wow, that's great. 52 years, exactly. Right, and that's how old I am now. Brilliant.
There you go. You just had it. You just qualified. You qualified yourself.
Nice.
You initiated yourself. Thing is, I'll tell you a couple of more details. Mars is retrograde this year at the end of Aries. It's going back to 15 degrees. So it's going to really stimulate your Saturn. Maybe something that you already had checked in with a couple of weeks ago can be reinitiated, reinvigorated, re-established with regards to working with a particular authority or authorizing your own connection or your own basis. Your own collaborative forces with different people. You might even know what I'm talking about. I don't know. But it's going to come back there in October and give this reinitiation or this rejudge. I love that word because I wouldn't have wanted to ever use that word, judge, but it works quite nicely as an astrological term, I find.
Yeah, judge it up, mix it up.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
Put some oomph into that. Judge it up. But it's going over your north node. So this is really your direction. It's just like checking in with the self. Sometimes you might feel it's going a little slowly, but eventually you're going to get to your Mars return. Funny thing is, because you have your Mars in Taurus. And so it's a bit of like a tease. Mars is going to go up to 28 degrees and then go back to 15. It's a real ordeal, takes the rest of the year, and it won't be until about January the 8th or 9th you get your Mars return, which is a cycle that starts every 2 years. And so that's really cool for you. The other thing I wanted to say is that you, in your natal chart, you've got your moon here, which is ruled as your second house. So your value is actually sharing your emotional intellect and your ability to advocate for emotions and to say that there is value in our stories. And you mentioned about how in the cellular membrane we have this fat storage and our trauma storage in the cellular membrane. Have you got anything you can add, and we can close out our video with regards to clearing out the trauma that we carry with us through shifting our dietary habits or shifting our mentality about certain things?
I mean, I have blended a few things in my practice as a GAPS coach, and I use tapping, actually, EFT, emotional freedom technique. So you use this as the setting. You say, even though my skin is itchy, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Or even though whatever it is, even though I feel sick when I eat, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then you tap on. You can go to a place called the Tapping Solution online, and they'll give you free resources so that you get to know the shape of the tapping that you do. This one's great. You're kind of like beating your chest, and all the time you're saying, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then you tap under your arms, under your rib cage here, and then on the top of your head. And that's the cycle. And that is to help you grasp the things and to identify the things that are holding you back, and to integrate them somehow, and to accept them, and to love yourself regardless of everything that seems to be going pear-shaped. So that's nothing to do with eating necessarily, but if you do struggle with well, anyway, that's one thing. But
what website is that where it relays that out? With a simple video where it played it in 10 minutes?
It's called the Tapping
You've got a video.
Solution.
You explain it in 10 minutes.
Okay, no, I will do that. It's a good idea. I will do that. I'll do that, and I put it on my YouTube. Good idea, yeah. But
that, and it's a great. I've seen other people. I've got another astrologer colleague who does that, and so it's not something I put into practice. But now you say it again, I see that that's a very powerful way for us to affirm. And I do one of my great things.
Go on.
That I affirm would be that, for instance, if I'm singing a song, I might love the song. I've heard it a million billion times. That doesn't mean I'm going to get the words right. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to penalise myself and destroy myself and buckle down and I think I'm a bad person because I didn't get the words right. You can say, okay, I'm singing and I'm okay with getting the words wrong. I can enjoy getting the words wrong. Exactly. A bit like how I can say, okay, well, I've just been seen scratching on the train, but it was okay. I give myself permission to look like it. Like I love myself anyway.
Exactly. I deeply and completely. And sometimes it's really hard to say that. Sometimes it's really hard to say it. One time I booted Billy. That sounds terrible. I kicked my daughter down the corridor because she was coming at me like a little banshee, asking for sugar. She was scratching me and biting me and screaming and crying at me on my leg. And I thrust my leg away and ran away. And she flew down the corridor and hit a door. And I ran away to my bedroom up the other end and shut the door to get away from my own child. I was just And I sat there in bed going, even though I just kicked Billy down the hall, I deeply, completely love and accept myself. I was like crying it all out, and tapping away and going. And then I kind of had this revelation, even though I was petrified as a child when my dad shouted at me, and then it sort of changed to me thinking about something completely different. That anyway, I love
exactly. You went. It's funny because you give yourself the solution. And you weren't going to hold on to something which was actually just played out, which is a traumatic memory or reoccurrence or echo in the ecology of our own wisdom and our ecosphere, if you will. And then you went to the root. You went straight to the root of the
and the
issue.
tapping, I did it on my own in my bedroom. I didn't need a therapist. There was no one else helping me. I managed to help myself. I'm in Aries. I like to help myself. I mean, I like to reach out and meet other people as well. But sometimes people they can't afford it, or they don't know where to go, or this is something you can look at on your own in your bedroom with your upset. When you get that feeling of feeling sad or feeling upset, you can go, okay, this is a message. Great. I'm going to work with it. I'm going to work with the message rather than go, I just feel like shit, And just lastly, when we're talking about fats and the memory of things in your body, in your being, you specifically need to avoid vegetable oils and have good fats. That means coconut oil, butter, lard, tallow, goose fat. Start with coconut oil. It's a great one. Put it all over your skin. You don't have to eat it necessarily, although you can. You can have a coffee and put a spoon of unsalted butter and a spoon of coconut oil in your coffee. Make what they call a bulletproof coffee. You could have those good fats. That's what you need to get into you to push out the vegetable oils, which are extraordinarily toxic. And you would have been having a lot of fried foods and vegetable oils.
This what this stuff is. I feel like this is when I made that claim out to the people, like I would like to have the space held with nurturing people around where I can actually heal it, because I know that my body is gonna give blue mud. It's gonna go so much.
Yeah, you're gonna have some healing crises. You're definitely gonna have some healing crises, but I know you can.
And so I'm not going to probably be able to continue doing my work in those times.
No. Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, you need to have a bit of a rest.
I don't feel like I've got the life and support that I can do it in the situation now. I'm living on the floor here, sleeping on the floor. So I would like to see if there is anybody who would like to facilitate that. Again, my email address is unityaroundthecorner@hotmail.com. And that's likewise if you want an astrology consultation, unityaroundthecorner@hotmail.com. If you would like to send an astrology reading, or if you know that you can help facilitate a safe space for me where you're doing yoga and healing and enemas or whatever it is, please reach out to me. But also subscribe to Emma's channel, which is going to be linked below. And obviously, true leaders don't just share a bit, they give you the keys to the vehicle. And so Emma is providing you with the solutions and the answers, and also the emotional, transparent authenticity and guidance so that we can support ourselves. So check out Emma's work, and I'm really grateful for you holding the space and sharing with me today.
Philip, thank you. You're really eloquent and very amazing with your thinking and the way you've actually come through what you've already experienced. I'm gobsmacked that you're still standing when you tell me the way you've been eating these years. I'm almost dumbfounded that you're actually managing to string sentences together. You're actually extraordinarily resilient when I look at you, thinking, wow, actually he's in really good shape considering how his body has not been nourished. You're actually doing amazingly well and are extremely eloquent, and your brain seems to be working really smartly. So I think you're going to get sorted. I really do. There's a journey, but yeah, I'm going to help you do it.
Well, yeah, you said about thank you. You said about the skin. Like if we go back and look at the videos of me before going on the medication, I look completely different from the person. The face is going to, because when you take these medication, it goes all bing, and get chubbier cheeks, but like it starts to hang, start to look like I'm a heroin addict or something as I come off the medication, and the body wants to clean and purge. It's going through this.
Nourish though. You've got to remember you need to nourish, and you need to get the animal fats on your skin. If you're not going to eat them, go to the shop, buy some, and get them on your skin.
Even the fats of the body start to hang, and the body muscles start to hang more.
So nourish yourself intradermally then.
Yeah,
you know.
I know the solution. I'm just sharing like the trauma that coming off the pills is going to be, but then also at the same time, feeding love and exuberance and all of the right medicines and skills that you've shared, and being around a different atmosphere of regards to people who are already on a similar path, maybe. That's really what I'm called towards. But yeah, thank you.
Thank
And
you very much. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, and I feel that we're going to continue to collaborate. I see us touring and speaking to many people across the world and being welcomed and learning from other people as well along our journeys.
Hear, hear. I'm learning all the time. Yeah. Lots of love to you.
Enjoy your moments. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Right. So there you go.